Okay, please. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with us for this final session. If you want, you can stand for a minute and put your arms in the air, move, and shake your body, so perhaps there's more energy coming out,
shake it out. Yes.
Than there is today, but is at this point. Thank you. Let's do it.
Get everybody organized here.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm Hervé Bosquet. I'm representing the Global Association Hubs Partnership. Now, the Global Association Hubs Partnership is a partnership of 4 cities, and we're talking of Brussels, Dubai, Singapore, and Washington, D.C. They joined forces to help associations grow, and grow global, grow internationally. So that's what this session is going to be about. We're very pleased to be here. Thank you to the organizers for putting up this event and for having our session on the program. The globalization is clearly a trend in the associations. We know that some of you are considering embarking on it. We know also that some of you sitting in the room have already made some steps, so there's quite a bit of experience in this room. And we'd like you to share your experience with us, with the panel, as much as possible. So our success depends on your interaction with us. I hope that is clear as a message. We want you to come and have your say in the form of questions or comments or anything that you have in terms of experience. Of course, we're also very fortunate to welcome our panel members here today, who all of them represent very successful organizations that have already gone global for a while. And so if they are where they are today, it's because they were where you are, perhaps, if you're only starting to think about it, a few years back. And I'm very pleased to introduce the members of the panel to you. First of all, we have Nina Freysen-Pretorius, who is the president of ICCA. Now, I'm not going to introduce ICCA again, since it's been introduced before. You know that ICCA is also organizing its next conference in Dubai, so that's quite a good match. Nina has been 25 years in this industry, has also started her own PCO business back in 1997, operates out of Durban in South Africa, and so welcome, Nina.
Thank you, Hervé.
We have also the pleasure of having with us David Macadam. He's the CEO of the Middle East Council of Shopping Centers, which is the regional trade body representing the industry in the MENA region. He's a Canadian. David is a Canadian, working in Dubai for quite a few years already. He has 35 years of experience in retail, and he has been a witness of developments at the international level since he's started in this business. He's also an ambassador of the Dubai Association Center, so welcome, David.
Thank you, Hervé.
The third member of the panel is Mohamed Mezghani. Mohamed works with UITP, which is the International Association of Public Transport. He's been with UITP since 1999. Just recently, actually about 2 weeks ago, he was elected Secretary General of the association, and he will take office on the 1st of January in 2018. So congratulations for this nomination. Mohamed is based in Brussels, thinks Dubai is his second home because he knows the place quite well, and is also an ambassador of the Dubai Association Center. So we have three very successful global executives with us, and each of them representing organizations that are successful today at the global level. But of course, these associations have not necessarily been what they are today since they started. Today, a significant part of their revenue comes from overseas membership and customer base, and better serving their overseas members, providing value, building engagement abroad have become strategic priorities. But as I said, that has not always been like that. And my first question to you, Nina, David, Mohamed, would be, could you share with us what your organizations looked and felt like before you launched your international growth strategy? In other words, how far back does that take us? How large and diverse was your membership at that time? Did the business model in those days achieve its ROI? These are questions that you will be trying to answer. We'll keep the answers short, but we have several rounds of questions, and then we turn to the floor. Who would like to start? Nina, would you please share? Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Hervé. Just perhaps a quick overview in response to your question about ICCA, the International Conferences and Conventions Association. It was started in 1962 by 2 travel agents, and I mention that to you because it's quite interesting. Today, we really represent convention centers, convention bureaus, meetings management, transport or travel members. And these 2 travel agents at the time, Mr. Moishe Schuster from Mexico and Jean-Claude Moret from Paris, decided that an association like this would be appropriate. And in 1969, the official headquarters in the Netherlands was opened, and our membership consists of 76, at the time, 76 member companies. I mention member companies because I think that's also important to mention for an association. Is it individual or is it organizational? So our association's membership has always been the organization is the member. And then in 1971, the year on the 2nd of December that Dubai was formed as a country, or all the 7 Emirates came together, was actually the year that we first had our first geographical chapter, so in Latin America. So already there was an awareness that we needed to have regional representation. And then officially in 1998, ICCA opened up an office in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Just another interesting fact, and perhaps this is just all about the association and our development and our growth, I thought I'd share this with you quietly on the side, is that in 1990 was the first female ICCA president was elected. Our membership is elected, and in the history of ICCA, we've only had 3 women. I'm the 3rd. And in 2002, Martin Sirk, who was previously on a panel, was actually elected as our CEO and appointed, and has continued to do a marvelous job for us, and we're very blessed to have Martin. In 2006, we changed quite drastically. I was on the board at the time as well under another president at the time, and a new governance structure was implemented, new articles of association, and sort of a real revamp, looking at the board representatives and also the geographical representatives. So our board composition, which I think is important, is board members are elected by the members based on the sector that they represent. Either in a sector would be the convention center, the convention bureau, meetings management, and then a geographical region. So to the earlier panel where we said that, who do you speak to? You are speaking for the members that have elected you for that geographical region. And in 2013, we celebrated 50 years. Today, we have 1,000 odd, maybe 1,050, I'm under correction, but organizational members from 90 countries. And our vision is really to shape the future and create value for international association meetings. And our focus is association meetings. Very often people have said, what about intergovernmental meetings? What about corporate meetings? But we remain very focused that our key niche area as an organization is international association meetings. And we really want to stick to our knitting. We want to be the global community for knowledge within the sector, And we want to offer a competitive advantage and business opportunities to our members and ensure that those meetings that they host have successful outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mohamed, would you like to share?
Okay. Yes, thank you. So our association, UITP, is a little bit older than ICCA. It was born in 1885 in Belgium as a European Association of Tramways, gathering together 63 members from 9 countries at that time. And it remained exclusively European till the mid-50s. And then the global expansion started. But at that time, it was completely different context compared to now. I mean, because our members are public transport companies or authorities, and most of the companies were state-owned and publicly owned. So the decision at that time to join UITP was taken in some countries or in most countries by governments to make their companies join the association. So it was a different context. We had our first World Congress outside of Europe in 1968. And then the approach for globalization started really in the 90s at 2 levels. First, it was the integration of all transport stakeholders in the association, because we started as an association of companies, and then we decided to extend to all. One of the speakers earlier spoke about the ecosystem. And it was really the approach to have all actors, all stakeholders interested by public transport to join the association. This is what the first level. And the second level was the internationalization of the association and going beyond Europe. And one of the first decisions was to open our first regional office in Hong Kong in 1993. And from there, this globalization started. And the main reason for this internationalization is really to represent the public transport market worldwide and to expand the membership and be representative and be credible. I mean, if we pretend to speak on behalf of the public transport community, we have to be worldwide association and not European only. So now we have 1,500 members. Our members are corporate members, companies, organizations in 96 countries. We have 16 offices on all continents, and one of them is in Dubai here. So maybe I could say that except the vision or the ambition to be international, we didn't have a real strategy when we started. It was not a strategy, it was more starting having a vision to become international, but starting with seizing opportunities that members or some organization were offering to UITP to be present outside of Europe. And it's only after that we started structuring our let's say, globalization strategy.
Yes.
So maybe we can
come
back later.
That's right. Thank you so much. David, would you like to share?
Sure. First, let me begin by thanking Steen Jacobson and your team. Thank you, Hassan Al-Hashmi, Karen Smith, and the teams, Dina and everyone else, for hosting this and for inviting me to speak, and also for having me as an ambassador for the business.
We asked him to thank you all on our behalf, actually.
Yes,
Thank you.
please. Thank you. I've been in the real estate shopping center business now for 36 years. I have to update my bio now. So, and the last 4 years have been with the Middle East Council of Shopping Centers. But let me go back a little bit. In 1957, the International Council of Shopping Centers began in the United States, and it started with 6 members, and it's now grown to around 70,000 members. And I represent the Middle East, North Africa of the International Council of Shopping Centers, and it's called here, however, the Middle East Council of Shopping Centers. And when I took over in 2013, we had around 500 odd members, and the organization was losing money. It was not a very happy scene. So today I can say we've turned it all around thanks to our team that's worked very well with us. We now have around 1,100 members in the last few years. And we're making lots and lots of money, and we have a nice cushion to ride on as well. So it's been a great ride in the last 4 years, and we hope to, in the next little while, see it grow even further.
Good, thank you. Well, now we've already got a good understanding of where you're coming from, your organizations. We also have an understanding of what the vision is for eventually moving towards a more global and more globally engaged association. What we'd like to understand now is your experience in the journey of implementing the strategy that you had thought out. Tell us a bit about how the strategy came about, who got involved, where it eventually led you, what kind of process you used, were the stakeholders from the regions that you wanted to enter already there, were they part of the process? And also, were the government entities involved? All of this we'd like to hear, so we understand what are the challenges and the opportunities that you had to face in implementing the strategy. Would you agree with this? Then I'd like to turn first to, we said David.
Okay,
Matt,
great.
Why not?
Sure, thanks. When I began the business with the Middle East Council of Shopping Centers, we had a great disconnect between the membership, what they were looking for. There was really not a high level of engagement. They had had some poor leadership in the past. I began it, and this is perhaps an idea for a few of you, I began it by putting together a coffee table book which was called Souks to Malls, Retail Evolution in the Gulf. And I solicited all of the members, plus many of the other shopping center owners in the Middle East and North Africa, to send back photographs dating back from historical times to put it into this book, which now is about 190 pages, and it's out of print already. It was published in 2014. But what it did was it brought everyone together, and everyone brought their photographs together and put this beautiful coffee table book together, and it was very well received. So everyone loved to see pictures of themselves, of their shopping centers, of the retail world, of everything. So that was a great start. The next thing that we did was we organized a new magazine and launched the magazine called the Retail People magazine, and circulated in 45 countries and with 10,000 circulation and 2,500 hard copy. And once again, it's Retail People, and it was all about the people in the industry in the region and photographs of them doing what they do every day. And that became a great success and a great vehicle for us to move forward. So those are some of the things. Government initiatives, the DAC organizations helped us dramatically, particularly last year for our big event. We needed to get some help for the registration side, and they were very helpful. So the government involvement is very important. Also in Saudi, we have very close relationships with the Riyadh Chamber of Commerce and the Jeddah Chamber of Commerce. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. Moving on to Nina.
So I think with ICCA, the way that it started was that it was really a small, tight-knit community. And as people have learned about ICCA, our membership has grown so exponentially. So today we obviously have 5 regional offices, a big head office to support that. But I think the challenge with growing that quickly is that all of a sudden the model in which you operated and actually serviced your members has become challenging to the organization, and it does put certain demands on the organization as well and on Martin and the team. And so we, about 4 or 5 years ago now, put together a new strategic plan with the board. We had sort of 2 days where we put together what is it that we want to be, what is it that we need to achieve. And one of the things is we realized that the chapters are really important to us. We call them chapters, the geographical areas. And many of you would have met our regional director here in the Middle East, Central, Gopal. So to us, those regional directors are really important because that ensures that the message of ICCA and what it is that we want to achieve is with the people on the ground, and also talks to the inherent needs and business approaches and cultures of those members that we serve. Because in Africa, it's very different to Middle East. Originally, when I came onto the board, I represented Africa and Middle East, which is actually quite impossible. And the board then proposed, and the members changed, that there would be 2 seats, that would be Middle East and Africa. So that change had to happen to actually respond to the market demands and our members. One of the other things that we've had to do quite aggressively, and we've taken an aggressive approach, is very often as a sector we speak to each other, or we speak to each other internally. And so advocacy with getting that message out there is really, really important to us. We've always been members of the UNWTO, but the board's mandate is now to really, for our CEO and team members, to really be much more engaged and to be the go-to association about business events and meetings, to make sure that we are really top of mind. And also we are very much involved, and you might have heard about the Iceberg Project. It's the Joint Meetings Industry Council. And we are very involved and supportive of actually telling people about what is the value of meetings. Because a lot of our members are governments. So if it's, for example, the tourism body will be a member, and perhaps the person that's working there that is representative and involved, they know what conferences are about and what the value is and what the financial benefit is. But the government person or the entity, the minister, might not know, and often those people change. So that's also why advocacy has become really, really important, that our members and the people that they work for, the governments and institutions, are acutely aware of the benefit and the value that is added to the economy and the GDP at the end of the day. I think I've spoken enough now.
Thank you.
I think it's
Thank you. Mohamed?
Yes. So as I said, initially there was no strategy, but then progressively we saw a lot of initiatives or opportunities all over the world, and we started structuring our approach by creating regional divisions. In each division there is one assembly, means the meeting of all members of that region, and the committee who is which is developing working activities for the kind of regional board for that division. And we started with the regions where our sector, public transport, is well organized and structured, where it is easier to identify actors and partners with whom we could work, and namely Asia Pacific and Eurasia. Where, you know, the former Soviet Union, they have a long tradition of public transport, so it was easy to identify partners there. And we were focusing on 3 main missions. First is advocacy, as you mentioned, so it was being the advocate and defending public transport, lobbying, I would say, for public transport in this region. Then acting as a knowledge reference in our sector by developing activities related to training activities, for example, and then networking and offering a platform for our members to develop their business through the networking. We accompanied these regional divisions by launching regional offices, 16 now, and by developing activities locally, like, as I mentioned, trainings, but events, local working groups on very specific topic related to the region. Then we started integrating the regional activities in our international work program. We call it the Integrated Global Work Program, which is coordinated by a specific committee representing regions and themes or sectors. And at all stages, of course, the involvement of members was key. I mean, at each step, we consulted the members. Actually, we co-developed this regional approach with the members. Sorry to say regional. I don't like this term. I should say international. But it's one of the challenges also, that we look at it from Brussels. It's like, you know, Brussels is the center and the other are regions. But I will come to that later on, because it's an important aspect. But what I wanted to add is that the members were involved because we only open an office in a country if there is a member which will be hosting this office. It's the way we start. It is hosted by a member, supported by a member. Sometimes the member, or often the member, will help us recruit people. Some of the members, they even detach staff to work for the association. So all this this approach is based on a close partnership with the members.
Very good. Thank you. So we come to now that we understand where you're coming from and what the strategy and the implementation has looked like, we'd like you to contrast the situation as it is today in the organization with what it was what you described before just as we started. How has it changed? You know, did you have to change the business model? What's the new business model? How do you measure your return on investment in terms of, has this globalization paid off? Do you measure it in quantitative terms or in qualitative terms? Let's just hear from all of you in this context. Starting with you, Mohamed.
Yes, so of course we have, I would not say we have very strict KPIs to follow our growth, but we have some indicators. First, now we have 65% of our members are European-based, 35% are from outside Europe. So this is the first indicator. We, of course, follow the membership development figures in each region. We also measure the participation of non-Europeans in our global activities, not just participation as delegate, but participation as speakers, as sponsors, as exhibitors in our exhibitions. So this is very important. We also see the number of activities which are born in the different divisions. We also try to see the number of members, non-European members, who are sitting in the global committees, because traditionally these global committees were 100% populated by Europeans. But now more and more we have non-Europeans participating, and also one important indicator for us is the number of global committees. We have 27 global committees. So the number of committees which are chaired by a non-European, and we have more and more of this committees. So this is the way to measure the let's say penetration of non-European in the association, and this is very important. And one important is the growth of activities worldwide. And for example, we have now 80% of our training activities are taking place outside of Europe. And just to give you an idea, we have at least one training every week somewhere in the world. So this is 80% of them outside of Europe is important. Also, decision we have taken is to alternate between Europe and non-Europe for our Global Public Transport Summit. Our World Congress is every 2 years, and we decided to alternate between Europe and non-Europe. Also, the composition of our board is now much more international. We have also something new, which is more international activities. I would say, I would call them, in the World Bank or in the United Nations, they say South-South. Means activities which are not involving at all Europeans or Americans. They call them South-South. So we have more and more of these activities. And yes, so also our staff in Brussels, not just in the offices, but in Brussels is much more international now. We used to have only French and Belgians. Now we have people from all over the world. We have about 100 staff members in Brussels. And so all this aspect reflect the internationalization of UITP. And one last thing is the topics we are working on. That now more and more topics in our work program are initiated because they are very specific to some countries. And we have, for example, now a taxi division in UITP. It was born here in the MENA region because taxis in the MENA region is a very well developed business. And now we have a global taxi division. And we had our taxi conference last week in London.
Super, thank you. Nina, would you please?
So I think you started the question with having regional offices, are they cost effective, and is there a return on investment? And I think very similar to...
I think the mic doesn't work.
In the mic? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think I'll just put it, is that better? So the return on investment on having regional offices, and very similarly, we have relied on our members' kindness and goodwill to actually start offices or identify where we needed offices. But also, those offices are not always about money or financial gain, but by the ICCA board identifying where there's a need to service our members and offer a personalized service that understands the challenges or projects that they are facing in the region. So we now have 5 regional offices here in the UAE and Dubai. In Africa, in South Africa we have one. We've got Latin America has been also about the last 2-3 years. And then North America and also in KL, as I said, in Asia Pacific. But those offices have just been perhaps not always financially, but I think the benefit and the goodwill, because remember our members are all organizational members similar to yours, and so all of those organizations have staff that need to be trained, need education, and that is really what we're about, is to create that knowledge hub. So, it's a little bit of a toss-up. It's not always about the finance. Can we justify it? No. But the brand identity and putting the message out there, most definitely, yes. The other thing that is interesting is that because our head office is based with the majority of our team in Amsterdam, we never thought that we would need a regional office or a regional director in Europe. But because the main head office under Martin's guidance, and obviously Martin oversees our regional offices, they were really doing a lot of the nuts and bolts and managing the conference and all of that. And we've most recently appointed a European director to also look after those members, because they felt a little bit like they were being neglected, whilst we still had this huge office with all the staff. So once again, reinvesting and listening to what members want. ICCA, our annual conference and general assembly, we normally bid for that 2 to 3 years in advance, and our members actually have to go through a proper bid process. Once again, this really assists them when they are having to bid for international associations, and they present those bids to our board, and they get very, very detailed feedback and guidance from Martin, our CEO, and the feedback that the board is given. So that once again, that's a mentorship, and assistance and feedback and education to our members. And we take the conference to the members. Very often it's destinations that would never really have been profiled or have had the opportunity, and ICCA really gives them that benefit and raises profile within their destination, and also their members that are within that region. So I think that works really, really well for us. Changing under the strategy from where we were to where we are today. This year at our General Assembly, Martin presented the budget to our members, and this is the first time that our budget that we presented is at a deficit. And the reason for that, and we were going to dig into some of our resources, the reason for that is because we want to make quite considerable investment into our CRM, into our website, and that's really going forward and taking the association forward based on the strategic objectives of our board and that our members approved.
Thank you so much. David?
Sure. One of the big thrusts of the region that we're blessed with is the education component, and we're able to host custom education programs. Yeah. Annually we have a 1-week program that's very well received, and we have a number of other initiatives that go on, like mentorship programs for younger people in the industry that are very well received, and I think have done very well for getting greater support and follow-up from our members. We also have what we call the MECSC directory, and in that it's a guide to how to do business in the region, in the Middle East and North Africa. And we have around 28 shopping centers. We have 3,300 retailers. And the information on the shopping centers is very detailed in terms of their footfall, contact names, the anchor stores, all of the different information that you're going to need if you're going to be trying to transact business in the region. So we attract a lot of new members that way as well. Talking about other offices, we just have moved our offices now. We're in a new premises, which we're quite enjoying in Dubai. It hasn't really worked for us to try and set up another outpost, for example, in Saudi or other places, largely because many of the Saudi members that we have, which is about 1/3 of our members, they always prefer to come to Dubai, which is great, and so we enjoy to entertain them and bring them here for that. I think that's it.
Thank you so much. I see that time is flying, but now we'd like to certainly open this up for 5 minutes questions. So please, short questions and short answers if we can. I can see a first hand over there.
Alfons Westgeest of Kellen, based in Brussels, but also working globally as an association management company. I love the debate, and some of you were almost born for it if you think about the name, the 4-letter curse, if you wish, or the acronym of 4. But could a name also be an obstacle, or is it an advantage, or how did you get there? Because particularly if you then say you're the International Council of Shopping Centers - Middle East, or you say, well, we also have an office here. So some have actually said, it's not for us because it doesn't fit our name. So is name an advantage, an obstacle? How did you get around that from the idea of UITP, for example, or ICCA? Thank you.
Who would like to answer?
Well, we mostly as ICCA members, we get abused a little bit by that because, you'll say, well, where are you going? And we'll say, well, we're going to the International Conferences and Conventions Association conference. So that's always, gets a little bit of a giggle. But I think, I think we always just go by ICCA. The fact that there are other offices, we actually sell the brand ICCA. Sometimes it gets called ICCA, like YMCA. But we then educate those people very, very quickly. So it's definitely ICCA. Can you all please say after me, ICCA? Thank you. There you go.
Mohamed?
For UITP is more complicated because UITP is a French acronym. So even for the English speaking, they don't understand when we say International Association of Public Transport, UITP. So it's Union Internationale des Transports Publics. And in Russia is MSOT, M-C-O-T. So at the end, we don't translate the acronym. We try to keep UITP in all languages. I don't know if you know, but in Arabic you don't use acronyms. So you have to either say UITP and write it in Latin letters, or you have to translate, in Arabic the whole. So sometimes you will see in Arabic text UITP written in Latin letters. So. But I don't think it was a problem for the expansion.
Okay, we have time for 1 or 2 questions at the most, with quick question and quick answer. Yes, sir.
I wanted to say something about the challenge.
Thank you.
Kai.
My name is Kai. I'm representing the International Sports and Cultural Association, in short, ICCA. And also
not ICCA.
Almost, we have something in common. And also an organization called Best Buddies Middle East, Europe and Africa, with a headquarter in Miami, Best Buddies International. So we are also now globalizing. ICCA is based in Copenhagen. I'm based in Brussels, so working with our friends in Brussels. And I just launched ICCA North America. We are coming to the Middle East. So a question for Mohamed is, what was for you the process and how easy or complicated was that to set up here in Dubai?
In Dubai, actually, our first contact with Dubai was in 2003. We organized an event here in Dubai. And then in 2005, we created our Middle East and North Africa division, and it coincided with the creation of the Road Transport Authority here in Roads and Transport Authority in Dubai. And from there, we decided to establish. We opened the office in 2007, but it was before GAHP, before the Dubai Association Center. It was hosted, and it is still hosted by the Roads and Transport Authority. And then we organized our World Congress in Dubai in 2011. And from there, things have accelerated because it was decided to have a kind of research center here in Dubai. We called it the Center for Transport Excellence. It was decided to have an event every 2 years here in Dubai, an exhibition and the MENA Congress. And then with GAHP, when GAHP was launched, we were one of the first associations who was legalized, I would say, it means we were illegal before, legalized in Dubai. And GAHP, actually, they helped us a lot in now recruiting. We have people now recruited via the Dubai Association Center and a hot desk as well in the Dubai Association Center. So now things are much more smoother, I would say, than before.
Okay, unfortunately, time is running out, and I think it has been a long day for all of you, so we don't want to be unfair and go beyond the time allocated. We can, of course, continue our discussions during the late afternoon and the evening time that we will be together. So, before we end, I'd like just each of our panel members to leave us with one key recommendation for anyone that wants to engage globally. So let's start with David.
Very simple. Come get my business card, or I'll come to you, give you my business card. And I'd be happy to hold your hand as we go through the process. I think that it's a great region to get a foothold in. I know there are some things that you need to do to be doing it the right way, but I'm happy to help. So whatever you need. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think if you want to expand globally, you need the right people. The right people with the right attitude, the right experience from your sector. They need to be connected and understand. And as ICCA, I think where we are now with our offices, we are really, really blessed to have really fantastic and the right people, I believe, regional directors to represent and support our CEO. And that has not always been easy, and changes have had to be made. But I think the right people really can strengthen an organization and growth.
Thank you, Dina.
Okay,
Mohamed?
so actually there are a lot of challenges, and unfortunately we haven't had time to go in depth in the discussing the challenges. But if I think when you start this kind of expansion, you will have a number of administrative and maybe legal issues and logistical issues, but all these issues will find a solution. It's a question of time. But there is one thing which is very important, is that you have to encourage a change in perception, in mentality, in the behavior. Because when we think about global expansion, we think that we from one place, we would like to conquer the other places. And so we consider that place as the center and the other places as the periphery or satellites turning around us. And this is a mistake. And we really, when that it is done often by European-born associations. And we made this mistake in some regions. And so it's important that we don't try to impose our approach, our way of working. We don't try to impose our terminology. We don't try to impose our language, our way of organizing event. It will not work. So I would say my recommendation is to listen, to be flexible, to be open-minded. And what is important is to achieve the mission of the association, not the way to achieve them. So what is important is to focus on your mission, on the objectives, but adopt the way of working of the region where you are.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So thank you very much. I would like you to join me in thanking our panel members for sharing their experience with us.
Thank you.
It's been great to work with you and great to have you share with us
Thank you,
today.
Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And by the way, we appreciate a dialogue with all of you, and we would like to continue that dialogue also after this session.